They see a giant rat blocking their path forward. The rat notices them and they quickly hide from it, looking at each other nervously. The priest asks the warrior to deal with it, but the warrior doesn't want to go in first and decides they should look for a different way. Then the guide interrupts them and asks if it would be alright if he dealt with the monster instead. The two of them look skeptical, asking if this guy wasn't just a guide and if his job wasn't only to detect traps or point out a monster's weakness while they fought. They were right. Guides were basically regular people when it came to combat. They wonder if they should stop him as he walks toward the monster. The priest thinks the warrior didn't stop the guide because he was scared to fight. The warrior laughs nervously, saying he was just curious to see what would happen. He asks if it wasn't natural to be curious about how a guide, who is supposed to be utterly useless in combat, would fight. Adventurers are usually ranked in a hierarchy, starting from apprentice and leading all the way to hero. Guides are considered upper tier when they reach beginner tier, meaning there is no reason for them to fight. But this guide had a reason. The others notice him turning off his lantern. Labyrinth rots live in the dark, so it's obvious to him that they're nocturnal and wouldn't charge recklessly while it's bright. He decides to use that to his advantage and turns off the lantern. As soon as he does, the rat charges at him, just as he anticipated. But it's quicker than he expected. Focusing on the noise of it running towards him, he turns the lantern back on once it gets within a certain range, blinding the rat. Seeing bright light for the first time, the rat becomes stunned. The guide quickly pulls out his knife and swings it, driving the blade into the rat's body. The rat lets out one final squeal before dying. The priest and the warrior start praising him, calling him amazing for taking down a monster by himself. He thinks they're exaggerating, as even a beginner-level adventurer wouldn't struggle against a labyrinth rot. Still, he feels inwardly satisfied, realizing he's improved compared to the last time he tried this. Suddenly, the priest warns him about something behind him. A massive labyrinth rot is already too close for him to react. But something flies through the cave, passing him and striking the rat in the eye, burning it completely. The flames burn so hot that they incinerate the rat within seconds. A blonde girl asks the guide if he didn't say he would fight together with them, and yet he jumped in all alone. She asks if he's hurt anywhere. She is the mage of the party, Reina, and the guide's childhood friend. They were separated a few years ago, but had recently reunited. He had no idea she had become this strong while they were apart. He walks past her while apologizing for letting his guard down, saying he could have handled it himself otherwise. She asks if he shouldn't be saying thank you instead. He agrees, thanks her, and waves his hand. She notices he looks a little off and follows him. As he sits down to rest on a boulder, she taps his shoulder and asks if he's really all right. To her, it looks like something is bothering him. He claims it feels strange seeing her like this, remembering how she always talked about him wanting to become a hero when they were young, before they got separated due to an incident. He looks at his arms, remembering that day. He admits that it was his childhood dream to become a hero, but on the day of that incident, everything changed. Seeing a massive monster scaling the city wall and coming over it, he realized something. Even though he ran out to save people, he was too weak to do anything. That day, he realized he would never become a hero. And since he couldn't become one, he decided to become a guide instead. Reina asks if that was really all there was to it. If that was truly the case, then why did he fight the labyrinth rot by himself if he knew he was weak? He replies that there is something he has to achieve, and to do that, he needs to get stronger. He says the weak can't achieve anything, and he doesn't want to live as someone useless forever. Seeing his serious expression makes her smile. Reina says they should head out to look for the mandrake from the quest now since they've rested long enough. Most adventurers make a living by taking quests. The guide agrees, saying they should regroup with the others while glancing at the cave ahead. Reina notices him lingering behind and asks if something is wrong. He tells her he has a bad feeling about this, deeper in the labyrinth. After regrouping, they decide to split up to search for the mandrake. They start at point A, with him and Reina heading to area B, while the warrior and priest investigate area C. A little later in area C, the warrior says they should head back after checking everything. But the priest looks distracted, walking further inside. He yells at her, asking where she's going since they already checked everywhere. She jumps in surprise and apologizes, saying she wasn't paying attention. The warrior gets jealous, wondering if the priest keeps spacing out because of what the guide did and thinks maybe he should have stepped in earlier to prove himself. That's when he notices a treasure chest at the end of a narrow hallway. He doesn't want to go in, but the priest runs back and asks what he found. She sees the chest and says they should ask the guide to check it in case it's a trap. His expression darkens when she mentions the guide again. He says they don't need the guide, assuring her he can handle it, and asks her to watch from outside. She reluctantly agrees, though she wonders if they shouldn't be looking for the mandrake instead. Meanwhile, in Area B, the guide smells the soil. Reina asks what he's doing, and he explains that mandrakes have a distinct smell and can be found that way. Reina thinks for a moment and then casts a spell on him. She says it's a sensory type of magic that heightens the sense of smell for a while. He quickly thanks her, saying they should find it fast now. She acts tough, saying it's nothing and that she didn't want to just stand around. Soon, he catches the scent, coming from a small, dark hole. Inside, they find the mandrake, but she notices him going deeper into the cave and asks what he's doing. With his heightened senses, he picks up a different, faint smell. The deeper they go, the stronger it becomes. A foul stench he smelled before, and it's nearby. Reina thinks her childhood friend has become harder to approach and wonders how she's supposed to talk to him. She casually asks if he's heard about the royal army taking down a bandit group. He says he heard some of the bandits escaped. She adds the army is still chasing them, and even a hero has been assigned to the case. She then mentions a missing merchant case that happened near this labyrinth, asking if it doesn't seem suspicious. He says he hadn't heard about that and asks why she's bringing it up now. Reina suggests the bandits might have killed the merchants and could be hiding in this labyrinth. A shiver runs down his spine. She continues saying these ruined places are perfect hideouts for criminals. Noticing his expression, she asks if he's scared just because she said some things. He covers his mouth, trying to process it. Reina giggles, teasing that if he's really that scared, he could ask her to protect him if he asks nicely. Suddenly, the guide says he smells something. It's foul. Reina jokes back in surprise and starts sniffing herself, embarrassed, saying that shouldn't be possible since she showered before coming. He tells her it's the smell of corpses. He says it's definitely coming from a head and it's strongest there. She agrees, now faintly smelling it too. They move deeper and reach a cliff. Below it flows a water stream filled with corpses. Back in Area C, the warrior pulls out his knife and starts opening the chest. The priest asks if they shouldn't return to looking for the mandrake since they've wasted too much time. Not wanting to look incompetent, he says he's almost done. The priest feels something is wrong as the place feels uneasy. She hears a sound nearby. There's an opening, completely dark inside. She asks what that sound was, just as the warrior shouts that he opened the chest, startling her. Impatient, he opens it, laughing and bragging that it was easy for him to do. She tells him to at least wipe the sweat off before talking so big. She looks around, realizing the space feels larger than it should, wondering if it's a hidden chamber. The warrior rummages through the chest while she remains uneasy. She asks again if she heard the sound earlier. No response. She calls his name, Simon, asking why he isn't responding. Thinking he's joking, she grabs his shoulders, and he collapses to the floor, eyes wide, an arrow lodged in his neck. The guide runs through the labyrinth towards them. It was dangerous enough to be separated in a labyrinth. His first priority is to regroup with the warrior and priest because someone else is inside. The priest desperately tries to heal Simon's wound. She asks where the poisoned arrow came from since no traps were triggered. She sees a shadow approaching from behind and turns around, tears in her eyes. A man slams her head into the ground, a knife in his hand. He thrusts his knife towards the priestess, aiming to pierce her throat. At the last second, she miraculously manages to grab the blade with both hands. The attacker clicks his tongue, mocking how unlucky his victims are. He says he was just about to leave the labyrinth today, and of all places, they had to stumble straight into him. He says he'll kill them quickly, no wasted time. He forces the knife forward, pushing it closer to the priestess' face. Her teeth clench as she desperately struggles to hold it back. Then, the guide slams into the attacker from behind, dragging him away from her. The man loses his balance and crashes into the ground, the air knocked out of him. But he recovers fast, already trying to get back up. The guide moves behind him and locks his arm around the man's neck in a chokehold. He yells for Reina to shoot. Reina immediately fires a magic bullet. It slams straight into the attacker's face. As he struggles, the guide rushes back to the priestess and starts healing the wound in her arm. Reina stares, shocked. She asks how he can use divine power. He explains it's the only spell he can use, one that speeds up hemostasis. After stabilizing them, he turns serious. Both the priestess and the warrior are poisoned. They need to leave the labyrinth immediately. Reina nods and offers to use magic to carry one of them, asking him to carry the other. The attacker suddenly laughs. He says there's no way they're escaping. Their comrades will arrive soon. Amateurs like them wouldn't stand a chance against his group. He tells them to surrender now, promising a painless death. Reina slams her staff into his head to shut him up, saying he's just trying to scare them. The guide searches nearby and finds bags filled with gold. He realizes this must be what was stolen from the merchants. There are other belongings too. These bandits were using the labyrinth as a temporary hideout. He facepalms. This can't be happening. From far away, he can already hear faint voices. The bandit wasn't bluffing. If he leaves the warrior and priestess behind, they'll die. But if he takes them with him, can he protect them? As he hesitates between abandoning them or saving them, the priestess weakly calls out to him, begging him to help. Suddenly, a hand covers his vision. A voice tells him not to look. He recognizes it instantly. His mother's voice. She tells him looking will only make him suffer because there's nothing he can do. He argues they're begging for help. She laughs, confusing him. She asks if he's forgotten what happened the day the monsters attacked, how he turned away from a crying child who begged for help. His eyes widen. He denies it, says that couldn't have been him. She tells him to listen. He isn't a hero. Saving people is the job of the strong. She calls him weak, frail arms, someone who can't save anything. She tells him to pretend they don't exist. Tears stream down his face. He thinks she's right. How could someone weak like him save anyone? He decides not to see them. He isn't a hero. He doesn't owe them anything. A voice keeps calling his name, and suddenly he snaps back to reality. Reina is in front of him, shaking him, asking him if he's okay, telling him to snap out of it. He steels himself. Now isn't the time to dwell on the past. He grabs Reina's arm, apologizing for worrying her. Then his eyes sharpen. He starts thinking. Their enemies are an experienced bandit group. They have 2 injured people, only a mage and a guide left standing, and the labyrinth is vast. Then it hits him. Because it's a labyrinth, he knows everything about this place. He tells Reina he has a plan and asks her to follow his lead. Later, the bandits head towards the treasure room to collect their belongings. One of the leaders urges them to hurry. They need to leave before nightfall. A bald bandit mentions the hero who injured their boss is now hunting them. The leader says that's exactly why they're moving fast. Then they stop. Someone is blocking their path. A man holding a pouch. One bandit asks if that's the hero. The leader scoffs. Kariel is obviously not a hero, but he is holding their loot. Another bandit assumes he's a thief trying to escape with their jewels and orders them to kill him. The leader stops them. He says Kariel should already know who they are, and since they're in a hurry, they don't want unnecessary conflict. He tells Kariel to hand over the pouch and go their separate ways. Kariel knows it's a lie. They're murderers. Conflict is unavoidable. He throws the pouch towards them, trusting his plan. The leader praises him for being quick-witted, then says their rule is to kill all witnesses. Suddenly, a fireball flies towards them. It explodes nearby, catching them off guard. Kariel hopes the surprise attack took them all out, but from the smoke, a hand waves it away. A voice says how he thought such a cheap trick would work. The leader tells Kariel not to expect an easy death. The plan failed. Kariel twists around and runs. Bandits chase him through the caves. As he runs, he realizes Reina's attack wasn't useless. It drained the mana of the 2 bandit mages who raised the shield. The leader warns the others to stay alert. Kariel might have comrades. An arrow whistles past his head. His legs start to give out under the pressure, but he only needs to reach the next area. A bandit jumps ahead and punches him. Kariel blocks it and bolts right past immediately. The leader orders the others aside and begins casting a fireball. The cave is too narrow to dodge. Then, from behind them, Rena slams her hands on the ground. The leader senses mana too late. The cave shakes like an earthquake. The leader snarls, saying the mage has been irritating him all along and challenges her to a duel. But her spell isn't aimed at him. It isn't an attack at all. A wall rises, sealing the bandits inside with Kariel. The leader laughs, asks if this was their plan, if Kariel is sacrificing himself so his comrades can escape. He says they'll break through the wall anyway, and his first priority is killing Kariel. Kariel calmly says it won't happen. He remembers explaining the plan to Rena. She attacks first. If it fails, Kariel lures them to Section C. Rena questioned the plan. Blocking Section C meant using him as a bait and escaping alone. He asked if she really thought he'd suggest something she'd never agree to. Then he explained the most important part. He asked if her sensory amplification magic could also block sound. Now, inside the sealed cave, Kariel grips a mandrake, a monster that screams the moment it's pulled out. The bandits stare, confused. Mandrake screams cause hallucinations, vomiting, and dizziness. In severe cases, death. The leader shouts for his men to cover their ears. He realizes Kariel has blocked his own hearing with magic. Kariel yanks the mandrake free. Its eyes snap open. Its mouth stretches wide. It screams. Blood leaks from the bandits' eyes as the sound tears through them. The mandrake is sliced clean in half. The bandit leader stands there, magic still lingering around his hand. He says he's sure his last attack finished Kariel and asks where he ran off to. He orders everyone to stay alert. Kariel appears in front of him. He drives his fist straight into the leader's face. The mandrake's scream depends on magic resistance. That's why Kariel targeted the mage first. The others are still stunned. He rushes them. One bandit begs for mercy. Kariel lifts his knee and smashes it into the man's face. Only one remains. The last bandit charges him. Kariel dodges the punch, grabs him, and slams him into the wall. An elbow shoots toward Kariel's head. Kariel blocks it and smashes his forearm into the bandit's neck. The bandit claws for Kariel's eyes. Blood drips down Kariel's face, scratched just above the eyebrow. He grits his teeth and tightens his grip. Moments later, the bandit goes limp. It's over. Kariel runs back to Rena and helps carry the injured out. Rena says she's completely drained, barely standing on what little magic she has left. She tells him he should be grateful she was there so they could even try his plan. Kariel agrees. He says there's no way he could have done this without a mage like her. That answer catches her off guard. He thanks her for going along with such a reckless plan. She laughs softly, saying she was just trying to lighten the mood. But he took it seriously. She whispers that he was really cool today, more like a hero. Kariel hears it. A faint smile forms on his face. He asks if she wants to catch up once we get out. She says she has a lot to talk about too. They haven't seen each other in a long time. Then she tells him to look ahead. The exit is right there. As his eyes adjust to the bright light, he sees a figure standing in the glow. A man with a sinister smile. A chill runs down Kariel's spine. He skids to a stop and tells Rena they need to go back inside the labyrinth now. Something flies in from behind. A crystal ball with a fuse. Rena instantly tries to cast magic. It explodes in a blinding flash. Dust swallows everything. Kariel gasps awake. He was only unconscious for seconds. His entire body screams in pain. He wonders if that was a magic bullet, and if this man is the bandit boss the others mentioned. His first thought is Rena. She overused her magic to protect him. She's in danger. Through the dust, a silhouette moves. A kick slams into Kariel's stomach, so hard he can't even scream. The boss sneers. He says Kariel is just a guide and can't believe he wasted a magic bullet on trash like him. He's sure there's a mage nearby and decides to kill her first. Kariel tries to stop him, but no words come out. His consciousness fades. He wants to save Rena, but his eyes close. So this is it. Someone weak like him can't save anyone. He wonders why he even tried. When did it start? When he was born? Because he liked being praised? Because he admired heroes? He doesn't know, but he's always wanted to get stronger, to save people, or for revenge against the monster. Even now, he isn't sure what he wants. Back when he was younger, he had the same question. Reina's voice echoes. Did you really need a reason to save people? You've been doing it all along without one. More than anything, he wanted to become a hero, to save others. Wasn't she right? He asks if it even matters. No matter how hard he tries, he's just a guide. Even if he gets stronger, nothing will change. He'll never reach someone like Reina, a mage. She smirks, saying she's just a little too talented. Kariel says only the strong can save or kill people. That's why he trained his body and studied monsters since he was young. But the result is clear. He couldn't save anyone. His mother was right. This is a job for heroes, not guides. Reina asks if he's giving up now. He says being a hero was his only dream. She tells him he already knows he can't ignore people in danger. He says he won't do it anymore. Asks what proof she has. She says his actions are proof enough. His eyes snap open. His hand is gripping something. The bandit boss asks what Kariel thinks he's doing. Kariel asks if that means he already knows the answer. The boss lashes out, kicking Kariel in the face. Kariel barely blocks it with his arms. They tremble violently. The boss scoffs, says he doesn't have time for a guide, tells Kariel he can't even stand, orders him to stay down and act his rank. Kariel notices a wound on the boss's side. Minutes later, the boss finds Reina. He says he always makes sure to deal with troublesome mages first. He slams her to the ground. She whispers something inaudible. He asks what she said. She calls Kariel's name. The boss sneers, saying there's no one left to save her. He offers to send her to the afterlife. He lifts his foot to crush her head. Kariel strikes. He slams his fist into the boss's wounded side from behind. A surge of pain rips through the man. The boss whirls around and punches Kariel, sending him flying. The wound tears open, blood pouring out. Biting his lip, the boss growls that he was going to let Kariel live, but now he's asking to die. He tells Kariel to stay down. He'll deal with him after killing the mage. Then he starts laughing. Kariel is getting back up. The laughter fades. Kariel speaks. He says, I won't look for excuses or reasons anymore. I'll save people because I want to, because I choose to, of my own free will. The bandit boss laughs again. He says it was interesting seeing a guide use divine power, but asks what Kariel can even do with it. Nothing changes. A guide is still a guide. Kariel knows it. The warrior and the priest are critically injured. Reina is unconscious, but the bandits are in a hurry, and the boss is wounded, which means the hero chasing them can't be far. All Kariel has to do is buy time. He charges straight at the bandit boss. As he runs, his hand moves behind his back. The boss predicts a punch and throws one first. It misses. Kariel's fist crashes into the boss's face. Veins bulge at the boss's temple. He snarls, asking if Kariel is throwing feints now. Kariel's knife shattered earlier. His punches won't do real damage. The only targets left are vulnerable spots, like the open wound. Kariel swings. His arm is caught midair. A brutal blow smashes into his face. Before he can recover, a knee slams into his jaw. A sharp ringing explodes in his ears. The boss scoffs. Did Kariel really think he could win from one lucky hit? Kariel forces himself to stay conscious. He runs forward again. The boss clicks his tongue. He says he's never seen a bigger fool. Minutes pass. The boss grits his teeth. He thought Kariel still had some fight left, but now he sees it. Kariel isn't trying to win. He's just wasting time. Kariel grabs onto the bandit boss's leading leg. He says he won't let go. The boss bursts out laughing, asking what Kariel is even hoping to accomplish. He grabs Kariel by the neck. He says he changed his mind. He was going to spare him because he was in a hurry, but now he understands something. Trash like Kariel is more dangerous than mages, so he decides to kill everyone before leaving. Kariel laughs weakly. All he has to do is hold on a little longer. He apologizes to Reina in his mind. The boss picks up a sharp rock. He raises it for the killing blow. Kariel thinks about it. He just wanted to save people, like the person he dreamed of becoming as a child. Suddenly, an armored man rushes into the cave. Kariel is yanked free. He looks up. Standing before him is the very existence he once admired, someone who brings peace wherever they go. A hero. The hero arrived just in time. Tears roll down Kariel's cheeks. The hero grips the bandit's arm, nearly crushing it. The boss leaps back, glaring. He snarls, asking why the hero is so obsessed with chasing bandits instead of the Demon King. He blames Kariel for wasting his time. The hero answers calmly. The Demon King is already dead, and now bandits are the kingdom's greatest nuisance. The boss says the hero's days of chasing are over. The hero agrees. He was thinking the same. The boss declares he'll kill the hero himself, but before he finishes, the hero appears beside him. A single punch caves into the boss's stomach. The man's eyes bulge. He collapses to his knees, unconscious. The hero turns around and asks if everyone is all right. He notices Kariel's injuries and says he'll take them to the cathedral immediately. Kariel insists he's fine. The others are worse. He asks the hero to help them first. Then his strength gives out. He collapses. The hero catches him before he hits the ground. When Kariel wakes up, he's in a bed, wrapped in bandages, inside a small cathedral on the outskirts of town. He starts removing the bandages. Strange, his body doesn't hurt at all. A familiar voice speaks. He's been unconscious for 3 days. Kariel realizes it's the man who saved him, the hero. The hero says he'll be fine. He personally asked the priests to take care of Kariel. Kariel thanks him and asks about his companions. The hero says they're safe, recovering in the next room. Kariel exhales in relief. Then the hero continues. He says he waited for Kariel to wake up because he has something to ask. First, he introduces himself, Yahello, a hero who serves under the royal army. Though the world is more peaceful now, dark forces still appear. Yahello explains, unfamiliar monsters are appearing in forests. A suspicious organization with unknown motives is moving in the shadows, and a so-called hero hunter demon has been spotted, targeting both monsters and heroes. Kariel laughs nervously. It sounds like incidents are increasing even with the Demon King dead. Yahello agrees. It's as if these events are filling the void left behind. Kariel looks at him shocked. Yahello says he visited the labyrinth days ago. He saw what Kariel did, using the mandrake. Thanks to him, they captured not just the leader, but the entire bandit group hiding there. Yahello says the upcoming incidents won't be solved by strength alone. Then he gets straight to the point. He needs a guide like Kariel. He asks him to join his journey. Kariel's heart pounds. Stunned, words fail him. Instead of answering, he blurts out a question. Where are they going? Yahello answers calmly. The forest of golems. The hero is about to say something, but he's cut off when Reina asks him to wait. She says she accidentally overheard their conversation from outside and decided she's coming with them. Kariel says he's glad to see Reina is okay. Reina ignores him and steps closer to the hero, asking him to listen. She says Kariel is the type to get himself killed in no time and that he needs someone like her watching his back at all times. Kariel says, is she trying to start a fight with him? She glares and tells him he shouldn't even think about leaving her behind if he has any sense. Kariel, confused, asks if they had some kind of deal or something. She tells him not to worry if he doesn't remember it. She clears her throat and says she can take a break from school for now. A mage is extremely useful on any adventure. Placing a fist to her chest, she says that if Kariel is going, then she's going too. So Kariel and Reina decide to go on an adventure with the hero. The reason Kariel agrees is simple. For the first time, he has hope. A goal that felt out of reach. By traveling with the hero, he's bound to grow stronger, and maybe, one day, he'll be able to take down that massive monster on his own. The hero calls out to him, noticing he's lost in thought. He says it's time to get going and asks Kariel to lead the way. Kariel says he's ready. As he looks at Reina, he notices she's smiling and asks what that's about. She asks if it's that obvious. She says it's because Kariel mentioned the golem forest. She thinks golems are kind of cute since she made one in class before. Kariel thinks most people imagine golems as huge, terrifying monsters. He tells her not to get her hopes up too much or she'll be disappointed. They walk along a narrow path inside the forest, inches away from a massive drop. As they go deeper, Reina asks why they haven't seen a single golem yet, even though this place is called the Golem Forest. Kariel explains this path is mainly for workers. The golems are usually near the quarry. She asks if that means this place is a mine. Kariel tells her again not to expect any small or cute golems, seeing her excitement. The hero asks what he means by that. Kariel explains golems created by mages or sorcerers use their own magic, so they're smaller, but natural golems are formed from massive, pure magic stones. And this mine has tons of magic stones. That's why so many natural golems appear here. The hero nods, saying he understands now why it's called the Golem Forest. Kariel asks why we're really here. Inside the tunnels, a man wearing a white mask complains about always being stuck with the hard jobs. He wonders if it's because he's the youngest one. Then he hears voices. He thinks it sounds like trouble and decides to walk away. The hero explains they're here to investigate a suspicious group operating in the area. As the masked man walks off, the hero mentions the group's description: people wearing white masks, hoods, and carrying bags. The man suddenly slows down. He turns around and gives the three of them a sharp side glance. He says there must be a misunderstanding. A few seconds later, he bolts through the tunnels. He shouts, "Why are you chasing me?" He runs straight into a dead end. The hero and the others corner him, asking if he's ready to give up. The man laughs. He says things aren't going their way. The hero asks what that means. Then they hear a thunderous sound. A gigantic golem rises behind the masked man, looming over them. The man jumps on the golem and shouts that he's the one who lured them here. Reina says the golem isn't cute at all. Kariel tries to reassure them, saying natural golems don't attack people first. The hero points at the golem and asks if it's trying to give them a high five. Kariel turns back to ask what he means, and a massive shadow falls over them. A huge hand comes crashing down. They barely make it inside in time. Reina asks Kariel didn't say it wouldn't attack. Kariel says it wasn't targeting them directly. The hero turns around and stops the massive hand before it crushes them. He asks Kariel if he can figure out what's going on. Kariel says someone is probably controlling the golem from its core. Inside, the pilots panic. One says the right arm is stuck. The other says they'll have to use the left arm to knock it free. The pilot wonders if these people are from the kingdom. Then he notices the hero, standing on the golem's arm, walking forward, slowly. He realizes the hero is the one who stopped the arm. He orders the other pilot to knock him off. Reina shouts, "The other arm is coming." The massive arm swings towards them. The counterattack makes the hero realize fighting head-on is too dangerous. He needs another approach. He suddenly charges forward at incredible speed. As the arm flies towards him, he runs straight at it. Just before impact, he slides underneath through a narrow gap. His armor scrapes against the stone. Once the arm passes, he stands up again. Everyone is stunned. The pilots panic. They ask if the other one saw that. The hero is climbing the golem's arm. The sub-pilot asks what they're supposed to do. Should they fight him? The pilot says they've never fought someone like that before. As the hero reaches the top, he sees figures waiting for him. Not one, but two. Two golems. Meanwhile, Kariel tells Reina they should focus on the man they were originally chasing. But even as he runs, he struggles to look away from the hero's fight. It's something he wants to witness with his own eyes. The hero doesn't slow down even after spotting the two smaller golems ahead. One golem's eyes glow, a beam of light fires straight at him. The hero dodges left at the very last second, but the second golem is already blocking his path. He swiftly reaches behind his back and draws his sword. As the first golem charges up another attack, the hero strikes first. He cuts it down before it can fire again, then runs straight through the smoke towards the second one. This golem looks far more heavily armored. It raises its fist and swings, but the hero's sword pierces the gap in its armor near the neck. He climbs onto its back. With a powerful twist, he wrenches its head clean off in one motion. Inside the control room, the pilots panic. They shout asking how he just defeated two high-level golems in seconds. They realize golems won't work on him. Now they only have two options: run or hold out. The co-pilot suddenly asks where the hero went, staring at the screen. At that moment, the door behind them explodes open. Both pilots slowly turn around. The hero stands in the doorway, staring them down, menacing. He asks if this is how they've been controlling the golem. Meanwhile, outside, Kariel and Reina continue chasing the last man. Kariel shouts at him to drop the bag. The man yells back that he's just a low-level grunt. He claims he doesn't know anything. He says his job was only to make deliveries. Kariel realizes he can't close the distance and tells Reina to bind the man's legs with magic. Reina hesitates, embarrassed, saying she can't cast two spells at once. Kariel tells her to get on his back and cast it instead. She says she can do it if he really wants her to, but Kariel suddenly says he has a better idea. He asks if he can get on her broom and go faster instead. Reina looks disappointed. She clearly wanted to piggyback on his back. A few seconds later, the running man glances behind him. He hears no footsteps. He thinks he's finally lost them and slows down to catch his breath. Then, Kariel slams into him at full speed. Both of them crash to the ground. Kariel asks why the man suddenly stopped running. The man starts swinging wildly. Kariel dodges, grabs him by the collar, and slams him back into the ground. The man coughs, saying he really doesn't know anything. Before he can finish, his head is smashed into the floor. Kariel picks up the bag the man was carrying. Reina arrives moments later, asking if Kariel is okay. She admits she was flying recklessly. Kariel asks if she threw him off on purpose because she was mad. Reina looks hurt and says she would never do something like that. Kariel notices strange marks on her hands. He lifts one up, asking if she's injured. Reina says it happened back in the labyrinth when she pushed herself too hard. The scars look like burns. Kariel realizes this is why her flying was unstable earlier. He begins using his divine magic on her hand. Reina asks what he's doing, saying she was already treated at the cathedral. Kariel says this is better than doing nothing. He asks if she got hurt back then trying to push herself for him. He also apologizes for saying she threw him off earlier, even though he meant it as a joke. A small smile appears on her face as she thanks him for worrying about her. Kariel notices the man on the ground is awake. The man says he was awake the whole time. He adds they were too busy being lovey-dovey to notice him. Kariel asks what the item in the pouch is used for. The man says again that he doesn't know anything. Suddenly, the wall behind them explodes. The hero walks through the dust. Kariel asks what happened. The hero explains that the enemies sealed themselves behind a barrier. If he forced his way in and they died, they'd lose all information. Kariel says they need a way to stop them from using the barrier. He asks Reina if she knows any magic sealing spells. She says she can't use them. Kariel looks around and recalls something he noticed earlier. They're inside a warehouse used by the mine workers. It's filled with junk, but he's looking for one thing: flour. He turns back to Reina and asks why her injuries looked like burns. Reina is confused but answers that overusing magic causes heat to build up in the hands. She says people can get burned if they touch a magic circle. Kariel asks if magic really generates that much heat. She says it does. Kariel nods, saying that's good to know. He says he can create a situation where the enemies can't use magic. Inside the control room, one pilot asks wasn't today the day someone was supposed to meet them? He says they just need to hold out until that man arrives. The co-pilot agrees, saying they still have the advantage. Suddenly, something flies toward their feet. It explodes on impact. White powder spreads everywhere. The co-pilot shouts, asking, "Are they trying to blind us with a smokescreen?" The pilot tells him to quickly put up the barrier, then freezes. He smells the powder. He urgently stops the co-pilot, telling him not to use magic. If they do, the powder will explode. The hero walks in through the entrance. He says that even he can learn something new from a guide. He explains that when fine particles meet heat, it causes a dust explosion, and mana is heat. He says the mages should have known that already. He asks if they're still looking for a fight in this situation. He says he doesn't mind if they want to continue. The co-pilot asks what they're supposed to do. Should they hold out until that man arrives? The main pilot closes his eyes. He says they surrender. Somewhere else, far away, a figure clad in black armor grins. He says it's time to make his move. A person walking behind the armored man overlooking a cliff above the golem forest reports that they searched the forest but found no traces of any sorcerers. It seems they were too late. The armored man says it's no big deal. They just need to stay 2 steps ahead from now on. Meanwhile, inside a carriage heading back to the city, Reina is drooling on Kariel's shoulder. Kariel thinks it's a good thing the enemy surrendered without a fight. A few hours earlier, they discovered that the item inside the pouch was used to corrupt the golem. The pilot explained that he tainted the golem's core, allowing it to harm people. The hero asked if holy power could separate or purify the corrupted parts. The pilot said it was possible. The hero then purified the golem's core and sent the sorcerers who piloted it to the cathedral for questioning. With everything settled, Kariel figures he should finally get some rest. But the carriage suddenly comes to a halt. A stranger orders everyone inside to get out and surrender quietly if they value their lives. The driver starts trembling at the sight of the bandits. The hero jumps out of the carriage. The bandits comment that there's a knight inside. The hero asks if they're intentionally being rude, calling him a knight when he's clearly a hero. The bandits say they don't care what he is. They claim they have hostages, and if anyone makes a sudden move, the hostages will die. Kariel asks what the hero plans to do. The hero calmly says there's no need to act. His friend is already here. The bandits start mocking him. Suddenly, a man in black armor lands behind them. One bandit turns around, warning the others and shouting to kill the hostages. Before the blade can fall, the man bites off the bandit's hand. It takes a moment for the bandit to realize his hand is gone. Before he can even scream, a knife flies through his head. Another bandit shouts that they still have hostages. The man drives a knife straight through that bandit's heart. He turns to the last one, calling them pests, and slices him down with his claws. The hostage, who had her eyes shut in fear, is told she's safe now. The hero pats her head, telling her it's all right. As they walk past the corpses, Reina says she can't stand the smell of blood. Even Kariel feels the same way. Reina asks if they can return to the carriage. Kariel agrees, wondering where the hero went. The hero is still speaking with the family they saved. Kariel wonders if the man in black armor already left. Inside the carriage, the man in black apologizes for introducing himself so late. He says his name is Rom. His hero name is Shadow. He explains that Akala helped him a lot during his journey to becoming a hero. Akala tells Shadow not to embarrass him. Reina introduces herself and Kariel to the new hero. Kariel wonders how Shadow got into the carriage without him noticing anything. But then he thinks meeting 2 heroes at once is already incredible. Reina says something feels strange. Genuinely confused, she asks why there's more than one hero. Shadow whispers to Kariel to explain it to her. Kariel explains that the hero people usually think about is the one who kills the Demon King. That hero is chosen by the Holy Sword itself. But there are also titled heroes, superhuman individuals backed by the king or acting on behalf of a kingdom. Shadow confirms Kariel is right. He says heroes like him and Akala are given nicknames based on their skill sets. His nickname is Shadow because he specializes in stealth and assassination, not direct combat. Reina says assassination sounds very unheroic. Kariel asks what Akala's nickname is. Akala says he's called the Pursuer due to his keen sense of smell and overwhelming physical ability. Just like them, other heroes have nicknames too, such as Berserker or Arbiter. Reina says it's too confusing and that her head is starting to spin. In simple terms, she understands that the Holy Sword's hero is meant to kill the Demon King, while titled heroes follow the king's orders. But both are honored and share the same core values. Misunderstandings like hers are common since Holy Sword heroes are famous, while titled heroes' deeds aren't widely known unless researched. Kariel says she nailed it perfectly. He adds that he hopes to meet all the heroes one day. Shadow says Kariel might see them all very soon if he's lucky. Kariel excitedly asks if that's true. Reina wonders why he's so excited. Shadow says all heroes are going to gather for a mission to retrieve the Holy Sword. Kariel asks if the Holy Sword doesn't only appear when a new Demon King is born. Reina asks if that means a new Demon King is coming. Both of them drop. Shadow panics, realizing he may have leaked confidential information. He quickly laughs it off, saying he was just kidding. Akala asks Shadow what he thinks he's doing. Both Kariel and Reina think Shadow is a really strange guy. Akala explains that he'll explain things slowly so they don't get confused. He tells them not to worry about the Demon King. To ordinary people like them, the Demon King is already dead. Overthinking it will only give them headaches. He decides to drop the topic and focus on the task at hand. The carriage soon arrives at their destination. They all get out. Kariel asks what the next incident is about, and if that's why Shadow joined them. Akala explains that the next case involves a series of disappearances in a forest. Since the forest is dark even during the day, he asked Shadow to join them due to his expertise in darkness. He says they should head to the village first since the request for help came from there. As they walk, Reina notices Kariel lagging behind and tells him to hurry up. Kariel asks if these disappearances are likely caused by a magical beast. Reina asks if he's already figured something out. Kariel says they've run into bandits, then sorcerers, then robbers. They keep encountering humans, not magical beasts. He wonders if it's really just a coincidence. Reina asks why it matters, since solving the case is what's important. She asks if he's worried he's not needed as a guide when dealing with humans. She reassures him that they captured the sorcerers easily thanks to Kariel and tells him not to worry so much. Kariel wonders why Reina is so concerned about him. He thinks there's no way humans would cause trouble in a forest this dark. It has to be a magical beast this time. The concern in his eyes fades as he convinces himself of that. Eventually, they arrive at the dark, gloomy village. A crowd of villagers is gathered at the entrance of the village. The chief steps forward and greets them, saying they must have had a long journey. He asks them to rest for the day, explaining that rooms have already been prepared for the heroes. Pursuer declines. He says they don't have time and need to move quickly on this case. They'll do a brief investigation today. The chief nods in understanding and offers to gather the affected villagers. As Pursuer starts writing down the information, Shadow begins questioning the victims. He first asks a woman to introduce herself. She says her name is Nora. She worked at a diner, and she says she once had a son. Shadow pauses and asks what she means by had. Her voice trembles as she explains that her son went missing in the forest. Shadow asks her to describe exactly what happened. She says it was 3 days ago. She was walking through the forest with her son. She knew people had been going missing lately, so she held her son John's hand tightly the entire time. But then, when she looked back, he was gone. Even though she was holding his hand, he vanished. Pursuer asks how that was possible. She says she heard a sound and then lost consciousness. When she woke up, her son was gone. Pursuer asks what the sound was like. She says it sounded like a scream, or maybe a monster's song. Meanwhile, Reina and Kariel question another villager. He introduces himself as Mark. He says he searched the forest himself to find the missing people. He wandered for days but found nothing useful, except once. He saw the silhouette of a monster. Both Reina and Kariel ask him to explain. He says it had a snake's tail and chicken-like legs. After comparing notes with the others, Kariel says they should already know what the monster is. Reina agrees. She says it's a basilisk. Kariel says it's a siren. They freeze, then look at each other. Kariel tells her she should trust him on this. He's the guide. Reina snaps back, saying her magic school taught her monsters too. Kariel asks if she's confident she's right. She asks what he's implying. The heroes step in before the argument escalates. Pursuer says it doesn't matter which monster it is. Shadow says they'll enter the forest in the morning. He tells Kariel and Reina to head to the lodging. Early the next morning, Reina steps outside with a stuffed nose. She asks if she caught a cold. Kariel is already there. He says she looks pale and asks if she's sick. She snaps back, saying he looks just as pale. She asks if he's nervous that it might not be a siren like he predicted. Kariel says he's not nervous at all. He just didn't sleep well. She asks why. He brushes it off, saying it's nothing. But in truth, he spent all night thinking. This incident doesn't feel like something humans could pull off, and he isn't sure if that's a good thing. The heroes arrive together and ask if they're ready. Pursuer explains the goal: find the child, stop the monster. They head into the forest. After walking for hours, they split into two groups. The heroes go right. Kariel and Reina had left. Kariel marks trees as they go, keeping track of their path. On the other side, Pursuer tells Shadow he smells blood. It's faint and hard to trace. Shadow suggests checking the lake. He asks if Pursuer can tell the direction. Pursuer points. He smells water, far away. Shadow kneels, then bursts forward. Rom's ability lets him merge with shadows. He moves through them at incredible speed. Within seconds, he reaches the lake. He checks carefully, but it's empty. Back with Kariel and Reina, Reina complains they found nothing after searching all day. Kariel says they missed one place. She asks where. Kariel looks up, above them. He explains the trees here are massive. Their branches start high and tangle together, forming a ceiling over the forest. Reina realizes that's why the forest is so dark. Kariel points out claw marks on the trees, marks like something climbed them. She asks who's going to check. Kariel looks at her. Obviously. Reina sighs and floats upward on her staff. Kariel tells her to come back if she gets scared. She says she's fine, even if it's a little scary. She notices a large hollow in one of the trees. She hesitates, then steels herself. She counts down from 3. On 3, she slips inside. It's pitch black. She can't see anything. She crawls forward slowly. The Magic Academy had strict curfews. As a good student, Reina was never used to darkness. She spots faint moonlight leaking through cracks above. She creates a soft light spell, careful not to blind herself. As she moves deeper, 2 glowing orbs appear behind her. She doesn't hear anything, except her own heartbeat, so loud it feels dangerous. Even her light footsteps sound deafening. Her nerves sharpen every sensation, but she misses one thing: her sense of smell. Until it hits her, a stench no human should ever get used to. But to her, it feels familiar. The smell of death. It was always there. She wonders why she didn't notice sooner, maybe because of her cold. But one thing is clear: she needs to leave, now. She turns back toward the entrance, slowly, carefully. Then she stops. Something is stuck to her foot. She lowers her light spell. Her breath catches. She's seen this before, a human corpse. She almost screams but clamps her mouth shut with both hands. Her heart goes wild. Tears stream down her face. Each heartbeat slams through her chest. She crouches down, begging silently, terrified even a sound might escape. She curls up and stays there for a long time. After what feels like an eternity, she calms herself, slowly removes her hands, takes a deep breath. Her expression hardens. She tells herself she's getting out. Even now, the pounding hasn't stopped, because it was her heart all along. She saw something staring at her. She wasn't sure what it was, but she couldn't move her body at all. She didn't know if her body was giving out or if it was that thing's power. She decides to use a shield spell, then make a run for it. She tells herself when to run. Suddenly, she bolts toward the hole, but something bites her head. Down below, Kariel paces back and forth. It's only been 10 minutes since she left. It was supposed to be a quick job. He wonders why she isn't back yet. He considers going up after her. Suddenly, he hears an explosion from above. Even Shadow and Pursuer hear it from far away. Shadow says they should check on the others. As Kariel turns toward the sound, he sees Reina falling from above. He runs forward and jumps, catching her before she hits the ground. He asks if she's all right. Reina's face is bloodied as she gasps for air. He wonders what could have caused her to end up like this. He shifts her onto his back, deciding to heal her before asking questions. Reina tries to mutter something about the village, still struggling to breathe. He tells her to calm down and take it slow. After carrying her and getting her patched up, Kariel reports the heroes that she was hurt while checking the upper forest. Shadow asks if she ran into a monster up there. Reina tells them she did run into something. When it tried to grab her, she used a shield spell and blacked out. She says it was dragging her somewhere when she regained consciousness. She saw a chance and blasted the ground with magic to escape. Pursuer asks why the monster didn't eat her while she was unconscious. Kariel assumes it put her in a trance to keep her in its lair. That was how basilisks stored their prey. Pursuer says that means the child might still be alive. They should head into the upper forest now. He asks if Kariel is coming with them. Kariel says he will go to help search for the child. Before he leaves, Reina calls his name faintly. She tells him to come back alive no matter what. He nods and tells her not to worry. A guide's job is to cut out surprises beforehand for others. Kariel tells the heroes he'll explain everything he knows about basilisks before they go in. Shadow says he's heard they have an evil eye that turns people to stone, and asks if it's true. Kariel says it is, but their powers and weaknesses change depending on the place and the stories. The one here doesn't turn people to stone. It messes with the brain instead. He warns them not to look into its eyes. He also explains that if it has a snake body or snake tail, it's called a cockatrice. Unlike regular adventurers, guides study monsters from a different angle. They piece together patterns to limit risks. That's what guides do. They also study hunting, monster habitats, mazes, and science. They work well with mages. Even if it sounds fancy, they aren't actually strong. A little later, the three of them enter the upper forest. Pursuer says he never expected a place like this to exist. He says the monster's smell now is much stronger here. It smells like chickens and snakes. Shadow adds that there's definitely more than one. Just like adventurers, monsters also have ranks, split into 5 tiers. A basilisk, a half-chicken, half-snake creature, has a mind-bending gaze, strange chimera-like movements, and no obvious weak points. That makes it a high-tier monster. One is already too close to Kariel, much bigger than he expected. He can't move, just like when he first saw a monster as a child. The monster opens its mouth about to bite his head, but Pursuer shoves Kariel aside. He slices the basilisk's mouth in half with his sword, then follows through, cutting the body cleanly in 2. He turns to Kariel and asks if he's all right, telling him to leave the fighting to the heroes. Shadow warns them that more are coming. He tells Kariel to focus on searching for the child while they hold the basilisks back. Kariel says he understands and moves to cover. He thinks he can't tag along and be dead weight, so he watches a bit longer, making sure he doesn't act recklessly. One of the basilisks slams Shadow into a wall. Shadow quickly says he's fine. Kariel warns them not to look into the monster's eyes, so Shadow decides to take them out instead. He punches straight through the monster's eye. It screams in pain as his hand goes deeper. The scream cuts off as the monster collapses. As it falls, Shadow notices something strange. It doesn't have a tail. He wonders if it isn't a basilisk. But there's no time to think. A larger basilisk charges at Shadow. He fires shadow projectiles at it, but the monster immediately starts healing. Shadow jumps back in shock. That shouldn't be possible. Basilisks aren't supposed to heal like that. Kariel wonders if it's an illusion, but if it were, Shadow shouldn't be able to see it like this. Kariel shouts for them to aim for the heart. Shadow reacts instantly. He sends a shadow to pierce the basilisk's wings, then yanks it down with a sharp pull. The monster slams into the ground. Pursuer leaps into the air, sword raised. He crashes down onto the monster, driving his blade straight through its heart, killing it. Pursuer says there's definitely some kind of mystery here, but before he can finish, they hear a voice, a sweet voice, yet it sends chills down their spines. All of them turn at once. Something raises its almost humanoid head behind them. It's a siren. Pursuer's body locks in place. He knows he has to get out quickly, but he looked into the eyes of a basilisk. Kariel says this can't be happening. He asks why different species of monsters are working together, but the siren clearly isn't normal. Only its upper body is that of a siren, and its song is putting everyone under a spell. Kariel's vision starts fading as he listens to the song. He slams his hands over his ears to snap out of it, again and again, until his ears start bleeding and his eardrums burst. But it doesn't matter. Now there is complete silence. Pursuer's body begins walking forward on its own. The basilisk opens its mouth. Pursuer walks straight into it. The beak starts closing around his head. Kariel dives forward and saves him at the last second. He asks if Pursuer can move now. Pursuer's eyes snap open. He gets back on his feet. He says they need to get out of there first. Kariel asks where Shadow is. Pursuer looks around. He was right next to them. Shadow is standing in a corner, staring at the wall. Pursuer rushes over, grabs him, and pulls him away. Once they're hidden, Shadow thanks the two of them for saving him. He asks if Kariel's ears are okay. Kariel says they're already healed thanks to Pursuer's divine power. Now they need to figure out what's going on with this strange chimera. Shadow says it might even be able to regenerate. They already saw the basilisk's heal. That thing can use both the siren's song and the basilisk's gaze, something they can't deal with at the same time. And if it can regenerate, they have to aim for its heart. But it has two bodies, so which one is real? Basilisks are a mix of a snake and a chicken, but the main body is always the chicken. There's no way the snake part could house a heart large enough for both bodies. Kariel wonders if the same rule applies to the siren-basilisk fusion, and if a fusion like this is even possible. It's strange, just like what happened with the golems earlier, which means there has to be a solution, just like before. He feels like he's missing something important, something simple, something basic. Pursuer tells Shadow to leave the monster to Kariel. They need to prepare a plan. They pull up Kariel's cape and draw their plan on it. Kariel explains that they'll have to pass through multiple basilisks to reach the siren. There's no way to withstand all the mental attacks on the way, so one person will distract the monsters and buy time, while the other goes straight for the siren. Now they just need to decide roles. Shadow asks if Pursuer can deal enough damage to pierce the siren's heart in one strike. Pursuer says he can charge his sword with divine energy and release everything at once. Shadow nods. He'll be the bait. Pursuer says he only gets one chance, but he promises to make it count. They both look at Kariel, asking if he's figured out which body is the real one. Kariel looks up and says that he has. The plan begins. Shadow steps out of cover. He says the late night is the perfect stage to deal with monsters like these, even if people say his style doesn't suit a hero. They won't understand until they put on his helmet and break a sweat. He leans forward. His shadow scarves rise, twisting like spider limbs. He charges headfirst into the group of basilisks. As he closes in, he lashes one in the face with his scarves. Another tries to flank him. He sees it coming and slices its face in half. Between the falling bodies, he catches a glimpse of the siren. His eyes widen. He leaps forward, straight at it. He tears through the basilisks behind him, reaching the siren. He drives his hand into its chest where its heart should be. He succeeded. Or so he thought. The crushing pressure on his body snaps him back to before he killed one. He slammed under a basilisk's feet. He asks when it happened. Meanwhile, Pursuer moves through the trees, staying hidden. He passes all the basilisks guarding the siren, then jumps out, straight into the monster's main body. The siren turns to face him, but it's already too late. When Pursuer asked which body to aim for, Kariel told him to strike the basilisk body, not the siren's.
Shadow, who is under a spell, is freed. A basilisk lunges to peck his head off. He instantly raises his fist. His scarf lashes out, shredding the basilisk apart. Meanwhile, Kariel runs toward the place where the stench is the strongest, assuming that's where the monsters kept their prey and where the missing child would be. He finds the spot. It's filled with corpses. In the corner, he spots the child, unconscious. Kariel rushes in to grab him, but a basilisk is guarding the area. He looks at the monster, then at the child about 10 steps away. The sneakhead strikes. Kariel dodges past it, grabs the child, and bolts. But he can't outrun the basilisk, so he zigzags through the forest, buying time to think. Then he spots the place where Pursuer killed one of the monsters. He leaps over the corpse and keeps running. The basilisk steps on the ground, and the ground beneath collapses. The monster is sucked into the hole. Kariel is pulled in as well. After the collapse settles, Kariel somehow manages to cling to a twig. He tries to pull the child up with one arm. It doesn't work. The twig cracks, then snaps. Kariel falls, but an arm suddenly grabs him from above, saving him. It's Shadow, completely covered in monster blood. He asks if Kariel is all right. Fortunately, the missing child was rescued without any casualties. The disappearance case in the forest is finally solved. Later, Rena pokes Kariel's cheek. She says she should have cast a spell on him before he left, thinking he might have woken up sooner if she had. She apologizes while resting her head beside him. Shadow stands just outside the door. Nora approaches him. She thanks him and says the village prepared food and gifts as a token of gratitude for the heroes. She invites him to the celebration, then pauses, asks why he's slowly stepping into the shadows. Shadow says it's just a simple chronic illness. Nora leaves, saying she assumes he'll attend. She asks him to bring his guide friend as well. Shadow says he'll pass on the message. He lets out a quiet sigh. Pursuer calls out to him. Shadow addresses her as Lady Aquila and apologizes for being distracted. He asks if the investigation results on the monster corpses are in. She says they are, and asks if they can talk privately. Shadow is confused but follows her. He asks why she wanted to speak in private. She says there's something she needs to discuss about the case, and what's to come. Before this mission, she handled a case involving a golem attacking people, but the truth was that people were inside its core, contaminating it, turning it into a monster. This time, it's a bizarre fusion of two monsters, and the investigation revealed that the fusion point between the siren and the basilisk was similar to the substance that contaminated the golem. Shadow asks if she's saying both incidents were caused by the same organization. She says the probability has become very high. But that's not the main point. First, the relationship between the Demon King and the Holy Sword. Through prophecy or phenomena like dark clouds covering the sky, the return of the Demon King could be always foretold. At the same time, the location of the Holy Sword would also be revealed. The two phenomena are connected. Not perfectly, but throughout history, the Demon King and the Holy Sword have appeared every 100 years, like a law, like a promise. But this time, hero Persean has already slain two Demon Kings, once 30 years ago, and again 10 years ago. Something must have gone wrong during that period. She wasn't a hero back then, so she doesn't know the details. Shadow asks if she's saying the law was broken by Persean the Justifier. He insists it was just an unexpected second appearance of the Demon King. She says she's not blaming Persean. It's that after the two subjections, what we believed to be law has become meaningless. Now it wouldn't be strange for another Demon King or another Holy Sword to appear again. Shadow asks if all of this is just speculation. She says yes, she doesn't have definitive proof. She doesn't fully understand what's happening or why. But she's certain of one thing. The Holy Sword retrieval mission this time will be completely different from anything before. Meanwhile, at the royal palace of Vinat, a shrouded figure overlooks the city from a balcony. A man calls out to him, addressing him as hero. He says the preparations are complete and that they will depart shortly. The hero turns, revealing a familiar face, the former wielder of the Holy Sword, Persean. Later that day, Shadow thinks that his mind has been full of things lately, like finding the Holy Sword or those strange demonic monsters. Kariel greets the hero, and Shadow asks if Kariel's feeling okay now that he's up. Kariel says the heroes did all the hard work and that he didn't really do anything. Shadow tells him not to downplay his contribution as their guide, saying they couldn't have done it without him.
After a moment of silence, they both start laughing. Shadow then asks if Kariel is free to chat for a bit. Kariel says he is, and Shadow invites him to a nearby restaurant. Shadow says he has a question for Kariel. He says he's curious about what happened during the fight with the siren. He asks why they targeted the basilisk instead of the siren. Kariel says it was pretty simple. The chimera's main body is what kept it alive, but a siren that breathes through gills couldn't function as the main body in a forest with no water. Shadow asks if it was really that straightforward. Kariel says he's just thankful his guess was right at the time. Kariel then says he also has something he wants to ask the hero. Back when Shadow took those bandits, he stayed in the carriage while Pursuer talked to the people they saved. Kariel thought Shadow was just avoiding the light, but it didn't seem to be the case. He asks if there was a reason for it. Shadow asks if Kariel remembers how they first met. Kariel thinks back. It was that bandit incident. Shadow asks if it wasn't shocking to see those people being slaughtered within seconds. He says many people look up to heroes and admire them, but they never see what's behind the mask. After becoming a hero, he did many things to save people. He killed monsters, killed bandits, killed people, and he kept killing. One day, he started wondering if he took off his hero mask, wasn't he just a weapon built for killing, nothing more? After that, he became afraid to take off his helmet. He also started fearing how people looked at him and the way they admired the hero they thought he was. In the end, he chose to hide in the shadows and run because he felt he wasn't what people expected him to be. He says he doesn't dislike people, in fact, it's the opposite, but he keeps his distance because his hands are stained with blood. Seeing Kariel listening with a serious expression, Shadow laughs nervously and asks if he talked too much. He says he's thought about this a lot on his own and thanks Kariel for listening. Kariel looks down, realizing he was one of those who admired only the surface of what a hero was. He never thought about heroes having struggles of their own. Still, he tells Shadow that his respect for heroes hasn't changed. For him, what makes a hero is honesty. He says there's a big difference between killing people and killing to save someone. He assures Shadow that he isn't ignoring the dark side of being a hero that Shadow talked about. Shadow doesn't brush the matter off and continues thinking about it. Kariel says that the brighter the light, the darker the shadow becomes, which means heroes, even as they face deep darkness, are still moving towards a brighter place. He says it's all about which way Shadow is looking. If he just turns around and looks at the bright side, he'll see that the light itself creates the shadows. Kariel asks Shadow not to focus only on the darkness, asks if Shadow hadn't just saved him the other day. Shadow thanks Kariel for saying all that to him. Kariel says it was his honor to help a hero in any way he could. They both decide to head back, unaware that a shrouded figure has been listening from afar. The hooded person mutters that Kariel has a funny way of putting things. After the talk, Kariel groups up with the others, leaves the village, and says his goodbyes to Shadow. Both Pursuer and Reina hear someone crying as they say their farewells. As Shadow walks away, he suddenly stops, feeling like he's forgotten something important, wondering if he left something behind. Meanwhile, the chief informs the village that the heroes have already left, since Shadow forgot to pass along the message about the celebration being prepared. Shadow decides it probably wasn't important if he can't remember it. He thinks he should focus on remembering why he became a hero, to help people. He decides he needs to be more like his brothers, the other heroes. Suddenly, he hears a scream coming from the forest. If he goes to check it out, he'll be late for the Holy Sword mission. But then he wonders why he's even thinking like that when someone's life is in danger. Without hesitation, he rushes towards the sound. Meanwhile, Pursuer goes to the cathedral to hear the prophecy about the Holy Sword. Reina and Kariel decide to check out the town. Kariel suggests they buy what they need and meet back at the entrance. Reina asks if they really have to split up. Looking at him, she suddenly remembers being carried by him before and starts blushing. She clears her throat and asks if they can stick together instead. But Kariel has already wandered off looking for the latest issue of the Hero magazine. Shaking with frustration, Reina says to go ahead and marry those stupid books instead. Kariel picks up the magazine, noting that it's been a while since Hero Paragon passed the sword to his student, Asanya. He opens the issue covering the Holy Sword. The prophecy of the Holy Sword comes in two parts. The first part foretells its appearance, and the second reveals where it will emerge. The heroes receive the second part at the cathedral and head to the correct location. Once they retrieve the Holy Sword and return it to the kingdom, the mission is complete. As Kariel reads, the hooded figure approaches him from behind. Meanwhile, Ram, the shadow hero, is still searching the forest. He finds it strange that he hasn't encountered a single monster, even though he's deep inside. He decides to head back for now. Suddenly, someone grabs his neck, asking what they're supposed to do now, saying they're not monsters, even though they look like one. Shadow knocks away the hand grabbing his neck before his throat is torn out. He wonders if this is another troublemaker besides the mysterious group. He calls the monster a Blood Knight. The Blood Knight asks if he isn't the hero Ram before lunging forward. Shadow blocks the Blood Knight's attack with his gauntlets. But the Blood Knight is relentless. Another swing comes at Shadow's face. Shadow ducks under it and disappears. The Blood Knight says that Ram truly lives up to his name, Shadow, as Shadow slowly steps out of the darkness from a tree branch. Shadow has only heard fragments about the Blood Knight. All he knows is that this man hunts heroes. The Blood Knight asks if Shadow is planning to run away after going quiet. Shadow moves through the shadows again, keeping his distance and waiting for an opening. Seeing Shadow circling him, the Blood Knight says it's nice to see that running away isn't Shadow's style. Suddenly, Shadow changes trajectory and flies in from behind with his weapons drawn. The Blood Knight curls inward as veins begin appearing across his armor from the core. He explodes, sending shrapnel flying in all directions. Shadow jumps back as the Blood Knight's armor transforms, firing a storm of sword-like energy. He realizes that if he keeps waiting from afar, he'll be the one to get hit. That means he can't avoid a direct fight anymore. The Blood Knight asks if Shadow's out of tricks, telling him not to think about running now. He says there are plenty of other heroes who could take Shadow's place. Shadow tells him not to worry about it. He says he already gave up on hiding and surviving a few hours ago. The Blood Knight admits he wasn't expecting much from Shadow, but says he turned out to be a trophy worth keeping after all. Back at Kariel's side, the hooded person says Kariel seems very interested in heroes. Kariel laughs, asking if he really looks like that, and says it's harder to find someone who doesn't like heroes. The person replies that they aren't really a fan of heroes. Kariel asks if there's a reason for that. The person says reality wasn't what they expected, that's all. Kariel says he doesn't quite understand. To give an example, the person asks Kariel to look behind them. A group of children are playing together. Among them, a well-dressed child, raised properly and loved by all, stands at the center. Meanwhile, a thin, weak child in dirty clothes is left out. The person asks who Kariel would save if he could save only one. Kariel says he would save both. A faint smile appears beneath the hood. The person says the answer is exactly what they expected. They say most people who know hero stories would answer the same way, as if words alone could save the world. The person continues, saying hero stories are always bright. Someone is saved and then everything works out. Kariel agrees, saying that's why people love them. But the person says reality is different. Those who weren't saved are never mentioned, which is why the stories stay bright. Not everyone can be saved, and when a choice has to be made, the outcome is already decided. Kariel asks what they mean by already decided. The person says who gets saved and who gets left behind. That's what happens outside hero stories. Kariel disagrees, saying heroes don't choose who to save. They push themselves to their limits to save everyone. He says hero stories aren't lies, they're real events. The person says they seem to be understanding each other at all. They say they overheard Kariel's conversation with the hero yesterday and became curious about what choice Kariel would make. They say actions speak louder than words, and that this time they'll show him with action, not questions. Dark tentacles suddenly grab the rich child and the poor child. Kariel rushes forward, demanding to know what the hooded person is doing. The person raises a hand toward him. Tentacles lash out, binding Kariel in place. People nearby stare in shock. The hooded person tells Kariel to choose which child he wants to save. They say they finally seem to be getting somewhere, asking if Kariel now understands the reality they were talking about. Reina steps forward and says she'll save them both. A magic circle forms beneath the hooded figure. Reina says I can't believe those words came out of my own mouth, and that maybe that idiot Kariel was right after all. She fires a massive, explosive beam straight at the hooded person. When the dust settles, the person is on their knees. A silhouette moves through the dust. Kariel bursts through the cloud, knife in hand, striking at the hooded figure, but the wounds he inflicts are already almost completely healed without any holy magic or potions, just like a basilisk. The person pulls their arm back and strikes Kariel in the liver. Behind him, Reina begins casting again, but the ground beside her suddenly shifts. Tentacles erupt from the earth and grab her. The poor child, still unconscious, is lifted up and taken away by the hooded person. Kariel tries to chase after them, but Reina stops him. She asks if he's really planning to go after that person like this. Kariel says they can't wait, the child has been kidnapped. Reina tells him to calm down, saying the two of them are no match for that person. She says they need to get the hero first, at the cathedral. At the cathedral, Hero Pursuer listens to the prophecy from a priestess and prepares to depart immediately when Kariel and Reina arrive. The hero says they returned at the perfect time as everything is ready for departure. Kariel tells her about the abducted child from the market. The hero asks who did it. Reina answers that it was a hooded person using strange powers. The hero asks if they saw where the kidnapper went. Kariel says they fled into the forest at the edge of town. The hero turns to the priest and asks how large the forest is. The priest replies that it connects to the main woods, making it massive. However, with Akela's tracking skills, what would normally take 2 weeks should take no longer than 2 days. Still, the priest reminds the hero not to forget her mission. The hero falls silent, unable to decide. She says she has to make a choice. Kariel tells her the kidnapper is working with demons and that they were far too strong for him and Reina to handle. He says only she can stop them. The hero makes her decision and asks them to understand. Meanwhile, in the forest, the kidnapper arrives at a rundown hut, closing the door with his tentacles. The little girl says she was just passing by and asks if they can let her go. The person pulls her into a hug, telling her not to worry, they didn't bring her here to hurt her. They ask where her parents are. The girl says she doesn't have any and lives at an orphanage. They ask if she gets along with the other children there. The girl says she's not sure, that the others don't seem to want to play with her. She says the kids outside make fun of her for living in an orphanage and that the other children are already praised for being good at magic or fighting. But she isn't good at anything. The person says she sounds more and more similar to them as she talks. The girl says they're different because she doesn't have powers like the hooded person. The person asks if she wants powers and offers to give them to her. The girl asks if it's true, her eyes lighting up. The person says there's only one simple catch. The girl thinks about it. If she had powers, her friends wouldn't bully her anymore and her teachers would praise her. The person repeats that there's just one simple catch. The girl agrees before hearing it, desperate for power. The person says she only needs to become a demon like them. They say no one ever comes to save people like them. But with the power of demons, they won't need anyone to save them. The girl looks down and says that isn't what she wanted. She only wanted to get along with her friends, and when she was in trouble, she believed a hero would come to save her no matter what. The demon grinds its teeth as she says she doesn't need demonic power. The demon grips her shoulders tightly and shouts that no one is coming for her. They say heroes like that aren't real. The door explodes behind them. Someone steps inside. The demon says they'll have to take back what they said. Shadow is still fighting the Blood Knight. He dodges a projectile and punches the Blood Knight in the face, but the monster simply opens its mouth, taking no damage. Shadow strikes again with his other arm, hitting it several times, but nothing works. His attacks are deflected by the armor. He can't figure out the Blood Knight's ability. The monster's arm swings past Shadow's face, red veins spreading across it as it transforms mid-attack. Shadow jumps back, but his heel catches on something. He glances down for just a second. That's when the Blood Knight strikes, slashing across Shadow's face and shattering his leg. It follows up with another blow, smashing into his face and destroying his hero's helmet. Even before the fight began, Shadow had a feeling that what awaited him at the end was nothing but endless darkness. He doesn't know who the other targets of the Blood Knight are or why it hunts heroes. All he can do now is pray. He prays that the light stays with his family, friends, and everyone who stands against evil, especially the boy who taught him the true meaning of being a hero. Everything goes dark in an instant. Back in the forest, the demon says that someone really did come to save the girl, but unfortunately for her, it's just a guide, not a hero. Still, the demon admits it didn't expect Kariel to follow them this far, especially while carrying a sword he's never used before. It's the sword that belonged to hero Yahello. Her decision was that she couldn't go with them to rescue the child. Kariel asks what she means. He already explained that the enemy was too strong and that only a hero could handle them. Yahello, the pursuer, is a hero, and because she's a hero, she says she can't go. Recovering the holy sword is the role of the hero. Kariel understands what she means. Rather than saving one child, retrieving the holy sword is the path that saves the most people. She chose the path that saves the greater number. Kariel wonders if what the demon said earlier was true, but he refuses to accept it. He agrees that there are unknown variables in the holy sword's recovery, but if that is the hero's role, then he will save the child himself. He turns to leave and tells Rina to follow him. The priest asks how a mere guide knew about the holy sword recovery. He warns the hero to be more careful about leaking sensitive information. He also tells her not to worry about the child and to leave it to the cathedral. Before Kariel can leave, she calls him back and hands him the hero's sword. Kariel asks if she won't need it herself. The hero tells him not to worry. She can retrieve her sword anywhere. She also shares the prophecy with him. At the highest place where eyes meet the mother of monsters, there appears what pierced her child. Kariel asks why the demon kidnapped the girl. The demon says it was simply giving a choice to a weak child. Kariel asks what a demon could possibly help her with and if it's trying to turn her into a monster. The demon asks if it even matters what she becomes as long as she can save those who are cast aside. Kariel tells the demon to shut up. He says if it truly cared for the child, it wouldn't have resorted to these methods. He asks if this is all just a way to force its twisted values onto her. The demon replies that everyone has untold stories. Kariel rejects that, calling the demon a monster in thought and action. He says he was stupid for trying to reason with a monster. The girl looks at him as he declares that he's here to take her back. The demon admits Kariel's words are harsher than expected. It says that when someone as unskilled as Kariel arrived so quickly, it assumed he'd have allies. A projectile suddenly flies toward the demon, but it's easily blocked. Kariel charges in while the demon is distracted, swinging his sword. He misses and gets struck instead, but he keeps going. He swings again as Rina repeatedly fires energy blasts at the demon. The demon stands still as tentacles form a shield around its body. It asks them to watch closely as it shows why becoming a monster is better. Seeing that their attacks haven't worked, Kariel explains to Rina that the enemy is a human fused with a monster through demonic energy, specifically a plant-type monster. He asks her to prioritize combustion magic for now. Rina says she understands and they attack again. The demon leaves the girl trapped and prepares itself. It grabs the surrounding vines, merging them into a beast-like form. The wooden beast charges at Kariel, flying past both him and Rina. Its body transforms into spikes where they were standing, firing thorns in all directions. Both of them manage to stop the thorns from piercing their bodies. Rina prepares a fire spell and drives it into the wooden beast, but it's ineffective. Kariel realizes the demon is overwhelmingly stronger than them. He wonders if it's holding back or if it has something else planned. Since the person gave up their humanity to become a demon, there's no line they wouldn't cross. The demon asks if they're still willing to fight after seeing the overwhelming difference in power. Reina thinks that next time she'll have to use stronger combustion magic. Kariel asks Rena if she knows when support from the cathedral will arrive. She says she's not sure and that the demon may have done something to interfere. Outside the forest, when support finally arrives, one of them asks if the forest was always like this, staring at the towering wall of wooden vines. The fight continues. Reina begins using stronger fire spells, but even those have no effect on the wooden beast. She's gasping now, asking how a wooden monster can be unaffected by even intermediate combustion magic. Kariel notices a flower blooming on the monster and realizes what it is, a camellia flower. A fire-resistant tree species, used as natural fire breaks with extremely high resistance to flames. They need another way. Kariel calls out to Reina, telling her that weaker combustion spells won't work. He asks her to use the strongest combustion spell she knows, even if it's only once. She says high-level magic takes time to cast. Kariel tells her not to worry about that. He'll hold the demon back until she's ready. The demon says it's never been called impatient in its life, but these two are starting to wear him down. It waves its hand and tells them to die. Vines erupt from the ground, shooting towards Kariel from all sides. Even a single vine causes severe damage when it touches him, but he endures it. He has to until Reina finishes casting. The demon realizes what's happening and points at Reina instead. The vines direct, charging towards her mid-cast. Before they can reach her, Kariel cuts them apart with the hero's sword. Suddenly, the ceiling cracks above him. A cluster of vines slams him into the ground, pinning him in place. With no way to escape, the pressure tightens, forcing blood from his mouth. The demon asks if Kariel is satisfied with this, mocking him for doing nothing but getting beaten ever since they met. Kariel says this is nothing compared to what the demon is about to face. The demon notices the vines restraining Kariel beginning to melt from the center, heated by the intense fireball Reina is forming. For the first time, even the demon senses danger. It hastily summons vines from every direction, trying to block the attack. Reina releases the fireball. It shoots forward towards the demon, leaving no time for countermeasures. Everything fades in an instant. The demon looks around and finds itself in a dark room. There's only a single chair. She walks over and sits down. Memories she thought were long gone come flooding back. It's the chair she always sat in whenever she went to watch her younger sister's stage performances. Even in the darkness, it was easy to find her sister. If she listened closely, she could hear an enchanting song. Following that voice would always lead her to the stage, to a beautiful presence and a voice that drew people in. A description that never fit her, even though they were twins. She thought her sister was amazing. Their family was simple, just their parents and the two sisters. An ordinary family, except for being poor. She believed their lives would continue that way, ordinary and poor. But the moment her sister stepped onto the stage, their everyday life began to change little by little. They moved out of their shabby hut and into the city. Her school life became filled with noise, people constantly comparing her to her younger sister. Even so, she still didn't truly understand how great her sister was. Others spoke of her as if she had transcended humanity itself. But in her memories, her sister was just a kind child, clenching her fists, sweating nervously, listening intently to hero stories with innocent eyes. One night, she overhears her mother talking to her sister. She hears about an unbelievable opportunity. A noble of great standing in the royal government had arranged a stage for her. Her mother says that if it goes well, they might even become nobility. She asks if her daughter can really do this. The little girl answers that she'll do her best. Her mother calls her beloved, saying her second daughter is all she has. Hearing this, she thinks her sister truly is amazing and thinks of herself as pathetic. The truth is, she had been denying her sister's influence all this time. If her sister shined so brightly, it felt like there would be no place left for her in the family. After overhearing that conversation, she finally accepts the reality she should have faced earlier. From then on, she can't treat her sister as casually as she before. One day, while looking for a change of clothes, she finds a dress she's never seen before. Curious, she wonders if she can try it on, just for a moment. It's unlike anything she's ever worn. She wonders why it was stored separately. She thinks maybe it's a birthday surprise. But suddenly, a hand strikes her head. Her mother yells at her for wearing clothes meant for her sister, asking her if she can do anything other than cause more stress. No matter how much she apologizes, the yelling doesn't stop. It's the first time she's ever seen her mother this angry. She wonders if she should apologize to her sister too. She believes her sister would forgive her. She's always been kind. Her sister soon arrives, saying she heard that her older sister wore her clothes. She apologizes again, saying it was a mistake. Her little sister says it's fine. She says she has plenty of clothes anyway, and she doesn't understand why her mom got so angry. She says their mom has been sensitive lately and asks her sister to understand. Still feeling guilty, she asks if her sister wants to play together, to reenact a hero story about a hero saving a princess, just like her sister used to love. Her sister says she has to go practice. She asks who still watches things like that. Left alone, she thinks about how her sister used to love those stories the most. But now everyone is changing. She wonders if she's the strange one for staying the same. That's when she decides to stop clinging to heroes that only exist in stories. Her father finds her sitting alone outside and asks what she's doing. To her, her father is more like a hero than any story, someone who never changed and loved both daughters equally. He asks if something happened while he's been busy with work, since she seems down lately. She tells him everything is fine. Her father offers to tell her the hero story she always loved. She quickly agrees. After that, her memories become unclear. Monsters appear, unseen horrors attacking cities and homes. During the chaos, she's trapped under the rubble of a burning house. She can't feel her legs. She begs for help, calling out for her father. She sees a silhouette outside and screams his name. When their eyes meet, she believes she'll be saved. Her father steps inside and asks, "Are you the second one?" She can't speak properly, but she forces herself to call him again and again. She begs him to help her. Tears stream down his face. A cold realization sets in, but she refuses to believe it. She tells herself he didn't mean what he said. She'll promise her she'll listen better next time, reaching out to him, begging to be saved. But her father turns away. She begs him not to go, crying, telling herself this has to be a lie. Why did he ask which one was the second? That question stays with her. As smoke fills the room, everything fades. Back in the present, Kariel strains to see through the smoke. He spots a silhouette and his eyes widen. Only half of the demon's body is still standing. He lets out a breath of relief, believing it's over. But even as her body burns, the demon keeps begging. Even after the house collapses into ashes, a man appears saying it's impressive she survived the flames. He says she's too valuable to abandon. She begs him to save her. She says she wants to live. The man accepts, telling her to come with him. Kariel rushes to Reina and asks if she's all right. She's unconscious. He knows he needs to get her to the church quickly. Then he remembers the kidnapped child. Suddenly, the demon moves again. Its body regenerates while burning at the same time, trapped in an endless loop of pain. She asks Kariel to end it, saying it hurts too much. As she staggers towards him, Kariel shields Reina, but hears voices behind him. Reinforcements from the cathedral arrive, asking if he's all right. The leader orders everyone to form a line of spears. Someone asks where the child is. Kariel answers that she's still inside the fire. The trap burns away, freeing the girl slightly. She coughs from the smoke. The demon attacks the soldiers with its burning body. One soldier tries to cut a vine, but it still pierces through, lunging at another one. Someone yanks him back by the clothes, telling him to stay focused. The soldier apologizes, saying the attacks are coming from everywhere. The leader says the demon is in pain, not even attacking properly. A fire spell hits the demon again, but it heals instantly. Kariel says the regeneration is too fast. Even high-level magic isn't enough to finish it. The flames spread and the building starts collapsing. The soldiers suggest retreating. The fire can't be extinguished. The leader orders everyone out, saying it's too dangerous to stay. Someone shouts that the child is still inside. The leader says they'll only die if they stay, ordering them to leave now and return later. Arguments break out. Kariel listens in silence. In the end, they all decide to retreat, telling Kariel to come with them. Kariel refuses. He says he made a promise and he won't make excuses anymore. When the demon's eyes finally regenerate, she asks what's happening. She looks around at the destruction and realizes it now. This was all her fault. She sees the little girl coughing in the middle of the fire. She thinks she has to save her, but with flames covering her own body, she can't move. She wonders if someone else might save the girl. She looks toward the soldiers retreating. No one is coming. Just like before, no one is coming to save the child. Just like the time she was left behind. She asks herself if it wasn't obvious. Heroes who save everyone only exist in fairy tales. She acted because she didn't want anyone else to end up like she did. It was all for those who were left behind. But now, everything is a mess. She asks why this is happening. She calls herself a no-good, stupid fool for starting this. Looking at the child, she apologizes for dragging her into all of this. Then she notices the flames shifting. Kariel walks through the fire. Her eyes widen in shock. She watches him run straight through the flames as the roof collapses over the little girl. He grabs the burning wood and throws it aside. She wonders, did Kariel just jump into the fire to save someone? Someone who saves everyone, just like he said? As she watches him, she wonders if Kariel had been there back then, when she was trapped in the fire. Would he have saved her too? She reaches out. Kariel turns back for a second, grabbing something, then walks toward her. She steps forward with a faint smile. His hand reaches out, or rather, toward the child she used to be. She asks why he's offering her his hand. Confused, Kariel asks if she isn't the one who needs help. She asks if it's really that obvious. She admits she needs help. Sobbing, she says she was never good at anything, not cute, always compared to her sister, always a burden. She says there's no reason to save her. Kariel crouches down in front of her. He says he heard everything. He told her she gave plenty of reasons not to be saved, then reaches his hand out further. He says if someone needs help, that alone is reason enough not to leave them behind. Her jaw trembles. She asks if all the reasons she gave really don't matter, and if he's truly going to save her. Kariel tells her she's right and asks her to take his hand. She thanks him as she grabs it. She thinks that even if heroes were only supposed to exist in stories, there really was a hero who reached out to everyone. She thanks him again, holding the hand that grips a sword. Kariel is breathing heavily. He had always thought a hero's role was to fight monsters. He asks why she's thanking him. She thanks him again for saving her. Kariel had swung his sword believing that, but for some reason, her words sink deep into his chest, calling him a hero. Whether she was human or monster, he never knew.